Oh dear God, my knife has rusted. What should I do? Well, that's okay, not a problem. Guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the more survivalists. Before I go on with this, if you're interested in these sort of topics, preparing survival, practical skills, including there's a dedicated chapter on sharpening your knife and taking proper care of it, right? How you're about to do those things. And that sort of stuff, industry survival skills, as well as surviving the economic collapse. Now, we've talked many times about knives, steel. Oh, should I go with stainless? Should I go with carbon steel? Oh, I heard a guy that is a super expert on survival, and he said that survival knives should be carbon steel knives, as if that means a damn thing. The first sign of someone not knowing a damn thing about what he's talking about is, yes, it has to be carbon steel. That is the equivalent of me saying, yes, your car should have wheels. It's nothing. Saying something, yes, you usually have carbon steel and stainless steel. Now, within those groups, the composition of the steel itself has enormous variations. You have stainless steels that are more stainless than others. You have carbon steels that will rust more likely than others. Usually it's going to be a matter of what the composition of the steel is, but in general, if you have a very simple steel, let's say the super common 1095, 1095 rusts super easy. Now, this is not 1095. I think this is 1070, meaning it's .70 carbon composition, which is still decent enough, but these are cheap steels. There's nothing special about them. And given that they're basic, cheap carbon steels, yeah, they will rust fairly easily, and even fine, fancy carbon steels, if they don't have a certain amount of nickel in the composition of the knife, and the more carbon you have, the more rust you will have. There's other things, other minerals going on that change how likely it is to rust or not, but basically it's going to be something like that. Now, in general, carbon steel is a kind of steel that, yes, it will rust far more easily than your stainless or stain-resistant steels. Now, it's also true that some stainless steels are extremely stainless, and they will even go in salt water and really not rust much at all. Everything eventually can rust, but some have more resistance than others. Having said all of that, with your basic carbon steel, these are things you're likely to encounter. And that's why you have to keep that in mind. When you're buying your Mora, right? Oh, but that guy said I have to go with carbon steel. Okay, carbon steel. Mora carbon steel looks brand new because it is. And the only difference between this and a Mora that is stainless is, instead of saying carbon, it's going to say stainless. No difference whatsoever, up until the moment in which you actually start using it. When you start using it, you will see that your carbon steel is more likely to get maybe a little bit of rust, maybe a little bit of a patina going on, and the stainless is a lot easier to keep clean and as new as the first day. You will see little lines of scratching and so on, which is perfectly natural given that it's a tool you're using, but that's kind of about it. Now, how is it that you get rid of rust? How is it that you get rid of even the scratching, since we're along on this thing? Well, we'll talk about both of those here. So I have my cold steel rifleman knife, which is this beauty here. As you see, it has a lot of grease all over. But the thing is that whenever you have a blade that is in contact with leather, this is the kind of thing you will have to deal with. Also, the greenish stuff, that's because of the bronze that you have here. It's super common to have this. I don't like it a bit. But yeah, it kind of comes with the territory. Now, what is it that you do about rust? Nothing, you just clean it off. You could use steel wool. You could use sandpaper. That's what I'll use here. I have a little bit of it's the 3-in-1, right? I already cleaned one side, so I have the other one. And basically, you just a little bit of this stuff just to clean it up, right? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be even worried about using water. If you're using sandpaper and you're using water, as long as afterwards you dry it properly and you apply a small coat of mineral oil so as to protect it from further rusting, it's going to be okay. Now, as long as you put it back on that thing, you're going to have that contact and it's likely to rust yet again. Is that a big deal for you? Well, maybe you need another knife. Maybe you need another sort of sheath. Most likely. Knife is not the problem. The sheath usually is. So let me know. Do you see that? So it's not a big deal, but when you have rust like that exactly on the apex, that kind of messes up your edge, because it's exactly on the spot where you want it to be super clean. But as you see on this other side, I already cleaned it up nicely. It has just a little bit of patina going on there, which doesn't bother me one bit, and a few scratches and so on. But sandpaper, little piece of metal, a piece of a wooden block, or a little piece of wood, something flat. This is just a piece of plastic, and you just start working on that thing. If it's gonna be like on the sides, you could use steel wool, some fine steel wool, and you start basically just cleaning it up. Just get a little bit of oil in there. Find your angle. And certainly if it's some precious family knife or some collector piece that you have, you want to be very careful of not scratching it. I don't give much of a damn. I see a little bit of rust in there, which, yeah, probably going to have to mess that up a little bit so as to remove it. Now, the thing is, when you're removing rust, you want to realize that, yeah, you're going to be scratching. That's not the end of the world. As you see, that was pretty quick in removing, but it leaves several scratches. That's okay. You can remove those too. It's pretty simple once you understand the principle going on here. Nothing that you're gonna do with a piece of paper is gonna mess up a piece of metal. Even if you're scratching the hell out of it like I'm doing now, because I don't care much, you can leave it mirror polished. How? Well, instead of using a 600 grit sandpaper, you then use 1,000, and then 1,500, and then 2,000, and the more fine you go, the more polished this ends up. So you may end up with a satin finish, or if you go fine enough, you end up with a mirror finish. You can easily remove all of these scratches. The only thing is, yeah, it's gonna take some time. Now the thing is, you remove the scratches, you actually use a knife, you're scratching all over it again. People that freak out over scratched knives, and that will happen no matter if it's stainless or carbon, there's really no difference in that aspect. It's gonna be in contact with pieces of sand and grit and whatnot. All I'm looking for here is now just removing the rust from the edge. That's really all I care about now. And then giving it a proper sharpening it correctly, and yeah, then final touch of a little bit of, yeah, let's take away that thing there. As you see, the more I scratch it with this, you see more scratches here, and if you keep on doing it, it ends up giving that satin finish. Now this was pretty polished, by the way, not great. I mean, it is Pakistan, India, or whatever the hell that is, but with a bit of a finer, and let me quickly show you how much it is, so that with this 1,000 grit, you start working on this a little bit, very quickly you remove those scratches, and then you have to go with something finer. So you see how it just already changes that color a little bit. And if I go up with 1,500 and then 2,000, you're probably going to end up with this. This is probably going to be around that. This is probably with a machine that they did it, but if you've ever done a proper polishing job and giving it a satin or mirror finish, that takes a while. It's not exactly fast, but you know, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you want to leave it all nice and even, you work on the entire thing. Again, not something I'm looking forward to right now. I just want to get rid of the rust, and yeah, that's kind of it. Anyway, you see how this goes, and again, look at how much. You see what I mean there? You see how that, I don't know if you get to appreciate, but you have all of those little scratches, and you just work with something finer. 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000, 2K, and whatnot. You keep on working it until you get to the point at which you're happy. I'm actually kind of happy that's already pretty sharp. Damn, that's okay. I see a little bit of patina going on there. I'm not going to lose sleep over that, let alone on a cold steel knife. All right, guys, I hope you learned something from this in the video. Simple to clean up rust, simple to remove scratches if you care that much about them, or if you have like a bigger one, you know, if you have something that, oh, that kind of looks pretty bad, okay, start working on it with sandpaper, get it down to the grit that you like and one that you're happy with, and that's it. you'll leave it to next time until you have to do a little bit more work. I will say though, I will end up with this, that your stainless steel knives, those usually are a lot easier to keep in condition. You know, a stainless steel knife, that's the beauty of it. It's a lot easier to just worry about other things and not, oh, is my knife rusting or not. Folks, that's going to be all for now. See you on our next video. Take care.